Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. So, UFOs, drones, have you noticed? They've kind of been disappearing from the news. What's going on? Are the drones not flying anymore? Did the aliens just up and take off and go back into outer space? Or is the media ignoring all this? Maybe it's because, we figured all of this out and now we're not surprised by what we're seeing in the sky. We're going to get into all of it. I'm going to give you an update on the drones, on the possibility of UFOs, and then this high-speed rail project in California. Gavin Newsom has it in for himself. Vivek Ramaswamy, the folks over at DOGE, Elon Musk, they have a rude awakening for Gavin Newsom and this $130 billion train they're trying to build from L.A. to San Francisco. It is a train to nowhere right now. And they're $100 billion short on money, and they want more money from the feds. And right now, the feds, under President Trump, is saying, We'll tell you all about that and how it really signifies and shows us just how wasteful Democrats can be and the problem with blue state hypocrisy. So we're going to talk about all of that. But before we do that, folks, I want to tell you about my friends over at Energized Health. EnergizedHealth.com is where I want you to go /Grant. I'm in some of the best shape of my life thanks to intercellular hydration. This has changed my whole life around. This is backed by science. I eat many of the same foods that I always wanted to eat. I've changed how I work out just a little bit, but I'm not killing myself by any means. And in the first 2 weeks on the Energized Health program, I lost 15 pounds. This is not about shakes and crazy diets. This is about changing your physical makeup from the cellular level by becoming cellular hydrated. Hydrated at a cellular level. Cellular hydration. What is it? I want you to go to energizedhealth.com /Grant. There's a free masterclass. You can just take it there. They also have all kinds of programs, coaching, recipes, personal coaches, weekly Zoom calls, daily videos. Everything is there for you to succeed. So if you've tried other diets or you just want to get in shape, go to energizedhealth.com /Grant. I promise you will not regret it. This high-speed rail project from Los Angeles to San Francisco. This is a doozy, folks. We haven't talked about it in a while, but right now you've got members of Congress from California who are desperate to secure $536 million in grant money to put towards this high-speed rail project. Now, let me just tell you this. The federal government has already doled out $6.8 billion towards this train to nowhere, which originally had a budget of $33 billion. Dan, the phone man, I'm going to ask you, do you want to try to take a wild stab at a guess of where do you think the budget is now?
Can you phrase where it was at the beginning one more time?
$33 billion.
Ooh,
when it first came out. Now,
billion with a B?
Billion with a B. $33 billion to build a high-speed train from L.A. to San Francisco.
All right. I'm pretty good at estimation.
Yes.
So I'm just going to guess $62 million.
Okay. Double that and a little more. $128 billion is now the budget for this train. Now, they expect completion originally by 2028. Not going to happen. So now they're saying, maybe in 2030 we'll have a partial completion. Well, how do you have a partial completion? It's either complete or it's not. It's like being half pregnant. You either are or you're not. You can't have a partial completion. Well, we partially completed the house you're going to move into. No, it's either completed or it's not completed. So the official term is a partial completion by 2030. Now, President Trump canceled a $1 billion payment when he was in office to fund this thing. Didn't matter. Joe Biden came in and he upped it another $1.3 billion. Okay. Now they want this $536 million grant, and they want to get it done before Trump gets in because the DOGE folks, the Department of Government Efficiency, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, co-chair Vivek Ramaswamy says, we're going to look at scrapping the whole thing. We're not sending any more federal money to this project that's just been a boondoggle. Okay? I think that's actually a good idea, is to scrap it. Now, what a waste of money, though. We've already spent $6.8 billion. So officials in California have declared that the train to nowhere, they've already spent, you ready for this? They've already spent $6.8 billion from the feds. They're $100 billion behind. So they don't have the $100 billion to get to that $128 billion. So I guess that look, my math doesn't have to be too difficult on that. They've spent $28 billion on this train, and it's still not working. And yet Gavin Newsom is desperate for more money. And I'm telling you, he, folks, is not going to get it. I really don't think he is. I don't think Trump is going to get the money from the Trump. Excuse me. I don't think Newsom is going to get the money from the Trump administration. And in many respects, that, folks, is a very, very good thing. All right. I want to turn now to my Trump MAGA minute. Do we have it, Dan? Roll.
Do you miss me yet? Do you miss me yet? I'm back because I'm a perfect physical specimen and I'm extremely young.
I'm the president and you're fake news. I'm the president and you're fake news.
They love me. They love me.
All right. So what is going to happen when President Trump gets into office? Here's my little MAGA minute scenario, if it's up to me. He's going to have about, I'll bet you there's 200 executive orders that he's going to have in place on his first day. Now, I'm not going to go through all 200. We'd be here all day. But the first and foremost is going to be immigration. He's going to executive order that wall continues to be built or starts to be rebuilt. He's going to institute a deportation operation, and he'll figure out logistical challenges to it. And he has said that he would issue an executive order to end birthright citizenship, meaning if you're born on U.S. soil, you're not going to be a citizen. I don't know if he can do that by executive order, but I'm all for him trying. Why not? Let the Supreme Court decide. I do believe that birthright citizenship is not spelled out in the Constitution. And I don't think this is what our founding fathers envisioned, that you'd have Chinese parents traveling here on vacation in the 9th month of their pregnancy just to have a baby here so their kid can be an American citizen. It's called birthright tourism. It's not right. Here's another top priority for President Trump when he comes in. Day one, include a ban on diversity, equity, and inclusion across all federal government agencies. And I think he's going to stop funding of schools that institute DEI curriculum. And that goes for grade schools, junior highs, high schools, you name it. Okay? I think President Trump will, it may be difficult for him to make the pardons for the J6ers on the first day, but I do think that there will be a large swath of pardons. And my hope is that he has someone looking into who deserves the most immediate pardons right away, or commutations of sentences, and get that done within the first week. You got the transgender issues, kind of falls in with the DEI stuff. I think Trump is going to ban women from competing in women's sports. And he does that by cutting off federal dollars to the NCAA or any school districts that allow women to compete, or girls that allow men to compete against women. So banning trans women, or, quote, banning men from competing in women's sports. President Trump has a very big plan to cut the regulatory environment in Washington. He says for every new regulation that will be enacted under his administration, he wants to cut 10. He started doing this in his first term I believe he will do the same thing. I also believe that President Trump will expedite permits for drilling and fracking. You got going to have the left that's going to say, "Oh, he's a dictator. He's taking his own stance, and he's a total dictator on this." I don't buy that at all. President Trump's the executive of this country. He can streamline these permits, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. It's one of his biggest promises. So these are the types of things that President Trump is going to do, I believe, on his first day. And you may look at tariffs, too, but I don't think President Trump's going to impose the tariffs on the first day. The tariffs are a threat. He's going to see how things play out with the threat of tariffs before he imposes them. So support for electric vehicles. He'll roll back emission standards. And these are what I would describe as job-killing regulations. President Trump is on it. Folks, so you want to be in Bitcoin, but the wild swings, the volatility scares the crap out of you. I don't blame you. So you know what I've done? I get monthly returns now, literal cash flow, being in Bitcoin, but only in mining. So the secret to success when it comes to Bitcoin is in the mining. And this is what Get21Now.com does. It's a company called NFN8. I'm involved with them. I've already started getting my checks. This is institutionalized giant warehouses of these servers. This is an impressive operation. They've been doing this for a long time. I've vetted them. I've talked to them. I want you to talk to them too. I used to buy businesses, right? I'd have to deal with employees and angry customers and paying bills and all of the headaches that come along with that. Folks, I get 21% now on my money, paid monthly. This is cash flow, baby. And look, NASDAQ is already trading Bitcoin as a commodity. This is real stuff. The future is now. Get21now.com. You want to have cash flow, monthly payments, talk to these guys, all right? Talk to them. They've promised stuff to me, and they have lived up to every promise they have made to me. Get21now.com. Get21now.com. Pay them a visit today and tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. You hear that little smooth tune in the background. You know that's for one man and one man only, the man we call the Sage. He's got a radio program right here on this station with the Salem Radio Network. We're talking about Larry Elder. Larry, Merry Christmas to you. Welcome to the program, my friend.
My friend. And starting after January the 1st, I'll be on from 3 to 6 live in Los Angeles.
Well, it's great news for us, and it's great news for our listening audience. You know, you're so beloved in this state and beyond, for that matter. Hey, I want to ask you a question right off the bat. You mind if I come at it right away?
Bring it.
All right. You ran for president of the United States. We're closer now to having President Trump in that office. A lot of talk about executive orders. What would you want President Trump to do first thing in office? Would it be very similar to what you would have done first thing in office?
I would hope so. First thing he's going to do is put back all of the executive orders that he had that Biden repealed his first day in office to secure the border. Put back the executive orders to allow drilling on federal property and do what he can to cut back some of the spending. But that's what the first thing is, that he's got to secure the border. That's what he ran on. He's got to bring back gasoline prices have got to come down. That will help the economy. That'll help everything because everything is tethered to gas prices.
All right. What about California? You got Gavin Newsom now saying he's going to Trump-proof California. How does Trump handle Newsom?
Well, how does Tom Homan handle Newsom? He already said, if you get in the way, you are breaking federal law and you could be arrested. I want Gavin Newsom. I want the mayor of Chicago. I want these guys to be arrested.
Well, wouldn't that be something? I mean, I've often said, what if you had a district attorney in California pair up with a sheriff in California whose county is being invaded? Could the sheriff and the DA threaten to arrest a guy like Gavin Newsom?
I think so. And we have a new DA, as you know. George Gascon got defeated by 30 or 40 points. We have a guy that has promised to do law and order. And so maybe that will happen. But I really believe that somebody has got to make a statement. Somebody has got to get arrested somewhere in the country to let people know you cannot interfere with the federal authorities if they have a legitimate reason to deport somebody who's dangerous. And if that happens, it'll be the equivalent of what Abbott and DeSantis did when they put illegal aliens on buses and sent them to Chicago and New York and Martha's Vineyard. Then and only then did people get serious about the issue. If somebody like a mayor of Chicago gets arrested, even if it's just temporarily, it'll send a message to everybody else.
Well, you know, what's interesting because you've seen Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, kind of make a 180. We had this horrific case of the woman being burned to death on that subway car. It's just, you know, to me, it was horrific watching it. It was even worse watching people just film it and not do anything about it. But now you have Eric Adams saying, hey, we want to work with the feds to work on what the situation is with immigration with this guy. We'll hand him over. It is a big turnaround for New York.
Yeah, regarding the people that watched the lady being burned and they were filming it, I got two things to say. Daniel Penny. I mean, honestly, this is why somebody like that stepped up and did something. And I think the fact that he got arrested and prosecuted is probably why other people didn't do anything.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, we see it in L.A. too, though. You see people getting beaten up and people just watch and film and they don't do anything. And then a guy like Daniel Penny does step up and remind everybody Daniel Penny was the guy that was acquitted on murder charges for subduing a complete crazy man in New York.
Exactly.
But you see this all across the country. People just watch.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Grant.
Yes.
On January 20th, what happens if Joe Biden shows up to work and nobody tells him?
He's wandering around the White House.
Just ask me. Nobody told him that he's no longer president.
You know, the crazy thing is it could happen. I mean, you see this? He's in St. Croix. Larry, the man just flew to St. Croix. He has like 2 weeks left. He flies to St. Croix. 40% of his term. I think he's pushing 550 days of vacation time now.
Yeah. I just read that he literally has spent 40% of his time as president on vacation. 40%. And what about all these pardons? I mean, I could understand it, Grant, if Joe Biden, as a devout Catholic, allegedly, said that I have a moral objection to the death penalty and commuted all those sentences. But you commute 37, leaving 3? What is that? Including people that killed a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, a female naval petty officer. You commute their sentences? Are you serious?
It doesn't make any sense. I did this on the show last night. It doesn't make any sense. Either you're for the death penalty or against the death penalty. You can make an argument either way, and I'm all for that. But to commute nearly everyone except for the was it 3 or 4 that he did? Sarnaev, one of the Boston bombers, was he let go? Roof,
Dylan Roof, the one that killed all the black churchgoers, and the synagogue Tree of Life. He did not commute their sentences. I guess he didn't want to offend Jews, didn't want to offend black people. I have no idea. It makes zero sense. And people on both sides of the aisle are livid about this.
So here's who he did commute the sentence to. This is a guy, Ricardo Sanchez and Daniel Troya. They kill a family of 4 in West Palm Beach. They steal the car. They left the bodies on the road. Sentence commuted. You mentioned this one, Jorge Torres. He sexually assaulted 2 girls, 8 and 9. They were out riding their bikes. And then 4 years later went and strangled that naval officer to death.
Yeah, and I think the first one, the family of 4, I think one kid was 3 years old, one kid was 4 years old, I think.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, and these are the people getting commuted sentences.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any...
And by the way, of the people that he's commuted so far, 9 of them, Grant, killed people in prison. Now, think about that. If you kill somebody in prison, what can happen to you? Nothing. The worst that can happen to you is you still get another life behind bars. So what is the deterrent from killing people in prison once you're in prison if, in fact, you don't face the death penalty?
All right, here's who I want some sentences commuted or flat out pardoned when Trump gets in, and that, of course, is the J6ers. How far do you think he'll go? And certainly there were some that probably deserved a little punishment, but nothing like what they've been experiencing. Now, there's not one person that deserved 4 years in prison, which some of them are sitting there for.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's going to have to do it on a case-by-case basis, but most of them should be pardoned. I don't know enough about the more egregious ones to say, but I think that most of those should be pardoned, absolutely.
Yeah. I've got a couple friends that got caught up in this, including a young lady. She was pregnant at the time she was there. She literally was walking around the Capitol. She had gone in two stints for 3 months in jail and a year house arrest with an ankle monitor, all while she's like 24 years old with a baby. I mean, it just was craziness who they went after.
And I interviewed Brandon Strzok, the guy that started the walkaway movement.
Yeah.
He was there. He was filming on the other side of the Capitol building, didn't even realize there was any violence, didn't even realize there was any riot. He posted what he filmed, knock on the door, FBI, he gets arrested, he gets charged. There was a GoFundMe thing for him that I contributed to because of his legal expenses. He ended up pleading guilty to 3 or 4 counts of things he did not do because he could not afford the lawyers.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. What a setup job. Hey, I'm so excited for your slot now here on AM 870 and AM 590. Starts on the 13th. Where else can people find you, Larry?
You can go to my Twitter, @Larry Elder. I do a weekly podcast, which I have pinned right to the top. This week's podcast, so far, 500,000 views. Last week was 1.7 million. So it's pretty popular. And then I'm on Instagram, I'm on Threads, I'm on Truth Social, I'm on Facebook, but on Twitter, @Larry Elder.
And how much do those views cost again?
Zero. They're free.
I'm teasing you. Hey, my man, Happy New Year. I can't wait for you to have so much success this year, and it's great. I hope we continue to do this every week. It's great having you on.
I love it. Thanks, Grant. God bless.
All right, buddy. You too. Happy New Year. Thanks for coming on. All right, that is the great Larry Elder, the sage, as he's known around these parts. Folks, there's a war going on in this country, and it's a war on all of you. It's a war on your assets. It's a war on your investments. It's a war on freedom. What do you do to protect those assets you work so hard for? I would offer up this. Gold. Gold has been a safe haven for the precious nest egg, all right? A safe haven for cash. Gold has stood the test of time as a portfolio protection maneuver. Why do I say this? Because you have the entire world waging war on the American dollar, and the smart money has been flooding into precious metals, specifically gold. Well, my friends over at Colonial Metals Group can help you with putting money in gold and protecting and securing your assets. Here's how you do it. Go to freegoldguide.com/grant. That's freegoldguide.com/grant. You can call them at 800-458-7356. That's 800-458-7356. China is buying up gold in record numbers. Most central banks across the country are buying up gold in record numbers. Colonial Metals Group can help you. Again, freegoldguide.com/grant, or call them at 800-458-7356. All right. Do you remember the Ethan Crumbley case, the Oxford shooting? This was a school right outside of Detroit. You had a whole slew of people killed, injured, as the 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley went into the school, shot up the school, and ultimately the parents arrested him. He got life imprisonment, and they also arrested his parents. Okay. Ethan Crumbley's parents were later convicted on involuntary manslaughter charges, and I believe they got 10 to 15 years, a maximum of 15 years in prison with a possibility of parole after 10. Now, the parents had gone to the school the morning. I'm going to remind you about how this case went down, and then I'm going to ask you what you think should happen, because I really found this quite fascinating. It's the first time a parent had ever been charged in coordination with the carrying out of a mass shooting. By no means do I think Ethan Crumbley's mother wanted him to go shoot up a school. I don't actually think it does anybody any good to put her in prison for 15 years. Now, they were responsible for buying him the gun. okay? They should have been responsible for making sure it was locked up. This kid's 15 years old. My son, I talk about Wyatt all the time on this program. He's 15. He doesn't have access to my firearms. Every single one of my guns is locked up. And believe me, at 15 years old, that's probably even more dangerous than the 7 or 8-year-old in the house, because the 15-year-olds are getting real curious about these things. So they're locked up. And I would recommend they should be locked up at any age, okay? Now, they get convicted of involuntary manslaughter, 4 counts. That was the 4 students that were killed. They had gone to the school earlier in the day because he had been accused of some violent ramblings, all kinds of threats that he was making, rumors about threats. So they go to school, they talk about this, they leave him in school, and they leave. Now, I'm trying to think, what would I do as a parent? If I knew my kid was troubled, and I would like to think that I have an eye on my kid, that I would know that something's amiss here, I would hope that I would take him out of school. But there's a chance you might not. I don't think you'd ever imagine your kid's going to shoot up the school. I don't think I wouldn't go if I got called in to talk to my son's teachers or administration. I don't know if I'd go to my gun safe and check to see if the guns are still there. I'd just go to school. But anyway, they made some mistakes along the way, and I think they do have some culpability in all of this, probably at a civil level. I don't know about a criminal level. So she wants out because the case is now on appeal after the conviction. And her attorneys are saying, hey, she should be out. But we went back to the files, and I want you to listen to her in court because just listening to her is fascinating in and of itself about her state of mind when all of this was happening. So this is Ethan Crumbley's mother, Jennifer. Listen.
This was already admitted, so we're not going to belabor this, okay?
Oh, no, she doesn't have a picture of that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's not necessarily your fault. I guess when I was out shopping, they said, well, let's go try on Black Friday, see if we can get one on sale, or if there's any deals going on.
Okay. So
this is about the gun, going to buy the gun for their son. And look, I have no problem with a parent buying a 15-year-old an AR-15. None whatsoever, providing that AR-15 is locked up and it's only being used with parental guidance, supervision, or any other responsible party.
So they ultimately did get one?
Right.
Now, did you object? Did you say, I don't want that gun in the house? Anything like that?
No, I was more angry that they cut into our Christmas tree time. Usually cut my Christmas tree down right after I get back from shopping, but I had to wait for them. So I was irritated at that.
When they came home, did they show you the gun?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you guys do?
They just showed me it was on the kitchen counter, and then my husband put it up, and we went to the Christmas tree farm.
Okay, so what it's telling me listening to her is she has no idea about firearms. None whatsoever. The AR-15's on the kitchen counter? Now, it's okay to put it on the kitchen counter if you've checked it and it's not loaded and you're maybe going to clean it, and that's going to be your bench to clean, but you don't need to clean a brand new gun at this point. But she has no idea. It doesn't sound like of what this gun can actually do, and that it should not be in the hands of a 15-year-old without adult supervision.
Did you end up posting something about it being a Mother's Sunday?
I did.
How did you feel about that day?
It was a fun day. He asked me if I wanted to go to the shooting range with him, and he's never asked me to go before. My husband was doing DoorDash, and I felt good about it.
I finished picking up the room. I cleaned until clothes started flying off the shelf. This stuff only happens when I'm home alone. I picked the clothes back up though. That's at, it looks like 2. Now, looking back on these days, are you thinking, oh my God, he thought things were happening that were crazy?
No.
Do you think anything of it now?
No.
What do you think is happening in those messages?
I just think he was messing with us.
Okay, so those are 3 times where you guys are at the ranch and he's messing with you. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
So he's sending messages, Ethan Crumbley, saying that clothes are flying off the shelves. It only happens when he's alone. The prosecution is trying to say you should have seen that your kid was crazy. But it doesn't necessarily mean your kid is crazy. It means he could be messing with you. I just think it's a tall order for a parent to be sent to prison for 15 years. Now, I understand 4 lives are lost, but I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on this. 855-785-8255, 855-785-8255. Do you think they should be in prison? And even more importantly, do you think she should be let out while awaiting her appeal? I actually think she should, but I think there needs to be ramifications for her actions of not being diligent about what her kid was doing, and I think that happens in a civil court, and I think that happens with money. Putting her in prison just doesn't seem to do anybody any good, and remember, the father is in prison as well. All right, the drone situation. Have you noticed we're not hearing as much about the drones? Is it because people are getting used to them? Is it because the mainstream media has lost its fascination with them? Is it because they have gone away? Maybe a combination of all 3 things. Well, Fox News had an expert on drones come on the program. This is Brett Velikovich talking about the situation now with drones.
I want to believe there's some other form of life out there, just like the rest of us. And I do have a real curiosity about what's up on our stars, but I'm also pragmatic about it and realistic. And to say there's some alleged secret government group that for decades has been covering up evidence of aliens and hiding UFOs in their possession seems a little far-fetched to me. Frankly, I don't think the current government is smart enough to do that. But
he raised a good point. The government's not very smart. I don't necessarily know what to think about the idea of life on another planet. You know, if you go to the Bible's going to tell you absolutely not. Okay? God made us in his image and us only. But you could make an argument, the grand scheme of things, are we really the only planet next to a sun where life can breed? When you think of stars in the Milky Way galaxy, and remember, our sun is a star. There are as many stars in the Milky Way galaxy as there are grains of sand on Earth. You hear me? You know how many stars that is? An infinitesimal amount. You're going to tell me we're the only one with a planet that could breed life? I don't know. I tend to think that's a tall order. The odds are not in our favor that we're the only ones out there. So it is interesting. Do I think they're here? I don't.
And then these sources are always some whistleblowers allegedly too afraid to come forward. What would be the incentive of that? And also, why does no one ever seem to be able to show me clear photos of these UFOs? And that was one of the issues with these recent drone sightings is the more...
the clear pictures of UFOs. It's like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. I mean, why can't we see clear pictures of Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster? Maybe because they don't actually exist. Now, we see clear pictures of the drones, but we know they're drones. It's the UFOs, the alien-style vehicles that are light in the sky, darting all over the place. Those are the ones that we don't really see a clear picture of.
The more people across the country who sent me photos of these drones, the more I started to understand many things in the sky are being misidentified. People are finally starting to look up. They're wondering what's up there now, and they're seeing a lot of things that they don't recognize. And it's not their fault. The problem is our government hasn't done a good job protecting us from modern day threats by explaining what is regularly above us and what threats we're going to face at home sooner than later.
So you hear what he's saying? Our government has not done a good job of informing us. We're constantly kept in the dark. And that, folks, is very, very true. Being kept in the dark is unacceptable. But yet, we have a government that does just that. Well, folks, I want to tell you about Patriot Mobile. I have a Patriot Mobile phone. I'm so happy with it. Patriot Mobile is all about supporting the programs, causes, charities that believe in the things we believe in. Why would you be giving money to the big 3 woke cell phone companies that literally practice DEI policies inside their corporate structure? They literally fund places like Planned Parenthood. When you could be with Patriot Mobile, that's supporting our veterans, that's protecting our gun rights, that is literally taking the fight when it comes to free speech to the left, putting "In God We Trust" signs in schools, and for this, the media comes after them so hard. Patriot Mobile. I urge you to get a Patriot Mobile phone. Hey, I got a Patriot One plan. One phone, 2 lines, 2 different networks. So in an emergency, one network's down, I got it covered. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. That's where I want you to go. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month service. And I promise you, you are not going to regret it. You can call them at 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT. And you tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right, so we were talking about the drone situation and the difference between the drones, which could be nefarious in nature. I think China has some involvement in this. I think our own government has some involvement in all of this. And then the idea of UFOs and aliens, which could be a possibility. I don't think they're actually here visiting us. I had made mention that God made us in his image, and that from the people that I have talked to about the Bible is that it's pretty clear that there's no other life out there except for us. Now, Brent in LA, and I would not consider myself more of an expert than him when it comes to these things, and I want to go out to Brent in LA. Brent, you are much more well-schooled on biblical issues than I am, so I'm not going to try to argue this point. But what say you? You disagree, and I get a lot of my information directly from my very special lady friend who is very religious when it comes to things like this.
Well, yeah, hi, Grant. I would say the issue is, according to my rabbi that I spoke to many years ago on the issue, God is mute on the issue of UFOs. He says it's not impossible that there couldn't be life anywhere else in the universe, but it isn't discussed by God because he doesn't find it that important. And so if there is life anywhere else, it would... if it was like us, if it was sophisticated, they would also have a Bible.
All right.
And so I think there's a... Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because I do believe that God is the creator.
Yes.
So why is he silent? I mean, he knows whether he created it or not.
Well, no, because he would know, but the Bible tells us what we need to know. It needs to tell us how to live as human beings. If they're extraterrestrials, we'll interact with them the same way we'll interact with any life form here on planet Earth. But there's no need for there to be life anywhere else. That's how miraculous the human being is. We might be the only life in all of the universe, but if we're not, then that would be a beautiful thing too.
All right, so I think it's fair to say up for debate amongst biblical scholars of where this may all fall.
Well, I've never heard that there isn't any. It's just that we have this drive to think there are UFOs, and I think that's because we don't really want to believe in God. So we have to believe in something higher than ourselves, so then we'll go to extraterrestrials versus why are we having such a hard time believing in God directly?
Yeah, it's interesting philosophy. And Brent, I always appreciate your phone calls. This is it's fascinating stuff to hear your perspective on this. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, absolutely. I do believe Brent raises a good point about it's one reason why Democrats hate religion is because they want to be the higher power. So forget about extraterrestrials. They hate the idea that you would believe in God because that's a higher power and they can't control you if your allegiance is to God and the life that he wants us to lead, rather than your allegiance being to Adam Schiff and Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and Barack Obama and George Soros. That's where they want your allegiance to lie. Well, that ain't happening with me, right? And so it gets back to this idea of the founder's vision. All right, let's go to somebody who is not happy with me. Vincent in L.A. What say you, Vincent?
Yeah, hey, Grant. I just want to say that if you really cared about corruption, you would have rejected...
All right, Vincent, hold on one second. Your phone is so crackly, I'm going to ask you to call back, okay? And see if we can clear that up. It's much too crackly. If I really cared about corruption, he says, well, I do care about corruption. I also care about these UFOs. Remember, Brett Velikovich was on Fox News talking about these drones and UFOs. Let's go back to him, and I'll wait to see if Vincent calls back, and I will take that call because I love taking calls from people who disagree with me.
The rapid innovation right now of lethal drone technology over the years due to ongoing wars overseas has forever changed the ways wars are going to be fought. In Ukraine, for instance, an estimated 70 to 80% of the daily attacks that take place on the front lines are conducted with drones. You've got even North Korean soldiers who have entered the fight recently being taken out left and right by these kamikaze handheld drones. And frankly, we're not ready for this. Our military is not prepared for that style of fight. We put too much money in the wrong thing. And there's just a lot of arrogance on our current government administration that thinks they've got it all figured out. But we're never going to fight another war without drones. And
I wonder why the host is giggling there, because to me, I'm totally frightened by that prospect of our military not being ready for something. And our military is the most formidable on earth, even though it's been decimated under the Biden administration. It's still the greatest there is. Now, we need to be ready for this. Could you imagine 50,000 drones being deployed from a mothership off the coast of California coming ashore? You'd never be able to shoot them all down. So we need to be ready.
Our adversaries, they surely get it. I mean, there was a Chinese defense contractor who just signed an agreement for over 1 million handheld kamikaze drones to be produced for the Chinese government before 2026. That's
why I think China has something to do with this. All right, Vincent, call back. Let me go out to Vincent in L.A. Vincent, let's see if your line is any better.
Yeah, Grant. I spilled coffee on my phone. Okay, so if you really cared about corruption, you would have rejected the Supreme Court ruling on absolute immunity. You do not care about corruption. You want to find any conspiracy that discredits Democrats, and you also play the other side, where anything that's discrediting Republicans, that's obviously a conspiracy. Matt Gaetz didn't have sex with a 17-year-old. Donald Trump was not corrupt to a new degree that we've never seen before.
Okay. I'll respond. Thank you very much for the phone call. One, I make judgments based on the facts. And so there have been Republicans along the way that I clearly knew were guilty of corruption, and they needed to pay the price. And we've talked about that on here. And Lord knows, I'm the first one to call out people like Chuck Schumer and other Republicans who are profiting off of inside information in Congress. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. I call that out. The Matt Gaetz allegations is nuts, though. I know him. I've talked to him personally about this stuff, and I believe him, and that's where I stand on that. You can disagree with me, whatever. I really don't care. On the issue of immunity, a president has to have immunity. If he doesn't, he will never be able to govern. That goes for Democrat presidents. It goes for Republican presidents. You cannot govern if you're president and be facing lawsuits every step of the way or criminal prosecution by rogue prosecutors who simply want to attack you because of your politics. Republican and Democrat. I would want Joe Biden to have the same immunity that President Trump has. So there.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online fast and save $45. Your kit with prescriptions to treat common and life-saving illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit twc.health/grant. Promo code GRANT. That's twc.health/grant. Promo code GRANT.
That, folks, is going to do it for us. I'm so thankful that you're watching during this holiday week, and I'm thankful you watch every day. But if you can, go to Stinchfield1776 on just about every social media platform. Give me a like, give me a follow. Make sure you check stuff out there. And then, of course, my website, GrantStinchfield.com, GrantStinchfield.com. Don't forget to sign up for the email list. And most importantly of all, folks, if you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you'll get notified when we're putting videos out. And even more importantly, copy the link and share it to your friends and family. If you do that for me, we spread this Stinchfield's Army message far and wide, and we take off like wildfire. We are growing so fast, all because of you. And most of it, really, folks, is word of mouth. So again, thank you for watching. Happy New Year to everybody. And we'll see you on the Real America's Voice show, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.